Hello everyone, it's Scott and welcome back to another episode of Agrarian Skies 2. So, you may notice there's a new creature here in the spawning zone, and it's actually a crazy creeper that I picked up in the nether when I was floating around looking for interesting things. So it's actually a nitro creeper, and near as I can tell, it's exactly the same as a normal creeper, or at least it has the same drops. It just has probably 2 or 3 times the blast radius when it decides to explode. So I'm just going to leave that guy be over there. So what I did in between episodes was I moved the mini smeltery area. So it is now down here next to the sludge boiler area. So over here I've created a network of lava and export buses where I've put all the material into 3 separate 3x3x3 smelteries. Actually, I said 5x5x5, I think, is the breakdown. So each of these has 3 of the smeltery drains that are feeding servos, feeding drums, feeding servos, feeding casting basins. And so when I get a material pumped in one of the dust, it's actually producing blocks of material straight away, not ingots anymore. So it's a little quicker because it basically runs 9 ingots at a time. And as you can see, I've cleared out almost all the backlog of the, well, still a lot more tin, but cleared out almost the entire backlog of material out of my AE system. I have a little bit left here. Let's dump in okay, the shiny, I think, is yep. So shiny is the platinum. And so what I need to do to get the last bit going, just as a demo of how crazy this is, let's grab a drum out of the ME system. I'll put it right here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to enable this with a blacklist so it dumps the material into the drum. And unfortunately that's not enough for a bucket, so I can't whitelist them like I've done the rest of the servos along the line here. So I'm going to have to revisit this later when I have more platinum built up in the ME system. So let's just let that go. Over here, I haven't really made any other changes. I expanded the big reactor a couple more levels up. We are now a 20,000 20,000 RF per tick generator, which feeds the Tesseract. Now, where is all that energy going, you might ask, because 20,000 is quite a big amount. So what I've decided to do was build a chunk loader. So here is the Mine Factory loaded version of a chunk loader, and it can only work in a 2 radius block, and for some reason it wants to consume 2 billion, actually yes, 2.1 billion RF in its energy chamber. And so I can't seem to click this up anymore, which is fine, but it's drawing off 3000 RF for normal operations. So I'm just going to let that sit there. I guess the chunk loaders are kind of designed to be expensive in Agrarian Skies, and yes, they are. So I moved the quantum rings inside here, so I just thought it was a little visually more appealing to have them on the inside of the tower. And so as a result, I just need to do a little bit of a cleanup here. Replace the stone. Now there is one item I've wanted to build here, and doing a little research outside, I want something called The Entropy Manipulator. So it's not that complex of a device, but it has some very interesting properties. And so let's go through and build one of these. Let's craft up one energy cell, followed by one engineering processor. And it's going to need a fluix and some iron. So altogether, one entropy manipulator. So now, like most of the objects in applied energistics, this is going to need some AE power on the device. Now, it just so happens that just sitting on this charging pad will not only charge my jetpack, but it will also charge the wireless terminal and any other devices like entropy manipulators. So now, why do I want this crazy wand-looking gadget? So what this does, what I'm told, is it applies a flame effect to whatever it is that I click with it. So if I right-click on a cobblestone block, this is just as if I had gone and put the cobblestone into a furnace. So we can see here, I can go through and basically clean up the entire tower just with like simple right clicks. Now, I have to be careful not to use this on any wood because, well, it will also apply a flame effect to wood and basically set it on fire. So, however, I think this will allow me to visually tidy up most of the material here. Curious, nope, it does not work on half slabs. Let me double check something. No, the half slab is not on fire. Great. But I think for a very, it's just saving me a whole heck of a lot of time instead of going back and fixing the tower. Now, the other thing that I thought was interesting, if I can find some water blocks here. So it turns out that if you right click here, let's shift right click, it'll turn to ice. So it actually has the inverse effect on water. But I don't really need ice since I've gone and set up a glacial precipitator. So this is one of the thermal expansion blocks that basically can produce snowballs, snow, and ice. And I've been piping that output here into this chest where I now have all the snow and ice I could possibly want. Now, one thing I did see in the quest book here was, just as in the other episode, I created a blaze using the Angry Doll. Now it turns out under the thaumaturgy branch, I can create what looks like a Blizz doll. And so these are ice versions of the blazes that drop materials that are needed for some of the advanced cooling things like cryothium. And so that's something I think I'd like to work on soon. But today my plan is to go through the assembly line quests and basically finish these off if I can. Alright, so let's get to work. So in the quest tree, I have a couple of pretty simple stuff just laying around. So a couple augments here to make, a stabilized frame and a modulation booster. So the stabilized frame is going to need bronze, rock wool, and glowstone. Now, I don't have rock wool yet, but that's something that I could definitely set up some of the... here, let's go through here. So, rock wool is going to be a special byproduct. Actually, let's go back and find the... So these are always kind of challenging. So the rock wool, like gray rock wool, is the original set, which is made by melting down slag in a normal smeltery. So slag is usually a byproduct of the induction smelter. And so I haven't really been doing anything that produces slag. I'm not pulverizing or anything really. And none of these formulas seem all that good because I'm not really in a... Well, I guess I could be making some of these items. So if I just had straight slag again, is there anything that has like a anything that's really useful? Because I don't want to burn down these ores yet. Well, actually, let me take a look. Let's take a look in the ME system and look at the... okay, I have nether coal ore. So that's probably something I could definitely burn down. So if we take a look at the induction smelter process, so this has a very okay, so rich slag and a nether coal ore will turn into a coal ore with a guaranteed chance of slag, or I can just run through a bunch with sand, get the coal ore. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to basically take the rich slag in order to get the regular slag. I don't think that's a good formula. Alright, so this is going to be a little bit more convoluted than I thought. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my already formed ingots and I'm going to throw them into the pulverizer and create pulverized tin. And so what I'd like to do then is head over to the induction smelter and grab the pulverized tin back out, throw it in with some sand, and what that's going to do is produce slag as the byproduct. Great. And so then with the slag, I'll be able to make the rock wool. Alright, great. So, okay. Now we're in front of the redstone furnace. So let's take the slag and throw it into the furnace, and here it's producing light gray rock wool. So let's let that run and get absorbed by the ME system, and then finally head back over for that augment. So we are trying to make a stabilized frame and a flux modulation. So stabilized frame is going to need the rock wool and hardened glass, and flux modulation is going to need just that transmission coil. Done. So with everything, I'm going to claim the reward for a secondary reception coil. Great. Fast cobble is going to need a pyroclastic generation. So the only complicated thing here is pneumatic servo. which actually isn't that bad. Done, done. And so what this is going to be do is it's going to be used in some magmatic smelters, if I recall. Actually, why don't we just take a look? So, yep, this is going to be thrown actually in the igneous extruder, and that's going to increase the capability to produce more obsidian per tick, or per cycle, and you know, I seem to be pretty good in that regard. So, let's head back to the quest book. All the way at the bottom, laser mining. So, this is where I was running into some of the issues. So let's take a look at what I need to do. So to make the laser drill precharger, I'm going to need plastic, the hardened glass, and these pink slime crystals. So it just turns out that I made a stack of pink slime crystals by smelting pink slime blocks, which I was getting from pink slime balls, which I now have 8,600 still in the ME system. So the only thing I'm missing now is really this glowstone illuminator, which looks like it's just going to be a little more convoluted. So I'm going to need to basically take a illuminator frame and fill it with molten glowstone. The frame is not that complicated, but let's head over to the crafting area. So it's going to need a signalum. So let's whip up a batch of those. Just have that running. So that's going to be produced over here in the mini smeltery. And let's see what I need. Okay, so I'm going to need to make at least 3 of these. So that tells me it's a candidate for the ME system. Alright, so now that that's done, I'm just going to make a quick formula and pull off 4 illuminator frames. And let's just take a quick look again. So I'm going to need 500 millibuckets of glowstone into the fluid transposer plus 1 illuminator frame. So let's grab some of that. So I'm a little curious how much glowstone. So 1 glowstone is going to burn down to 250. Okay, so this is going to require 2 glowstones and 1 illuminated frame. So let's make that formula. Makes 1 illuminated frame. Or sorry, 1 glowstone illuminator. So let's grab that and head downstairs. Great. And let's... Okay, glowstone is definitely whitelisted. Alright. So, let's make, I don't know, 10 of these. Whoops. Of course, because I just took them all out of the ME system. There. So these are going to fill into the chest. Whoops. I also need to whitelist this. Sorry, not with the pattern, but with the actual frame itself. Then those are going to carry across here down into the fluid transposer. Great. So now that that's cranking away, let's head back up and build ourselves some laser miners. Okay, so one pre-charger is going to require some plastic sheets. Okay, and then with some plastic sheets, we can now make our first laser drill pre-charger. And so we'll also need one laser drill. Ta-da! And let's grab our flux duct. Let's make sure we have a pretty powerful one. Let's go with the 8,000 per tick, and let's grab another tesseract out of the ME system. Great. Okay, the chunk loader is currently consuming a ton of power. So let's turn this guy off. Nope, that's a terrible idea, because that's what's powering the ME system. So let's pick this guy up and place him down, I don't know, right, let's put him right here in the middle. Yep, he holds his energy. And now it's drawing down. So let's head over, where do we want to build the laser? Well, I had built this platform way down here many days ago. And I never did anything with it. So how about we use this as our basis for the laser. So let's grab, well, let's just grab a little bit of cobble. I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to place the laser drill down where it can face the void. So it just needs to have a clear path. And so what I'm going to do is place the pre-charger at least one block away, and here we see it's going to create a multi-block connection to the laser drill. So the last thing I need is power. So let's take that tesseract, place it on top, and hook that into the RF power supply system. Let's make sure it has a receive mode for energy, and we see that we've now pumped up to 100% the energy. And the very last thing we do is we need to make sure we have a way to receive items. So let's grab a chest. Now items for a laser drill are going to pop out the top. So what's going to happen is each pre-charger is going to contribute work units here and pump up the laser drill. And so the laser drill itself doesn't, I don't believe, consumes energy, but we'll see very shortly. But once this work unit is done, it's going to basically extract ores from the nether and place them up vertically into the chest. And like that, we have one tick, and it produced one copper ore. Great. So this is going to be a very random ore that it picks. So we can fix that by providing what are called focus, a laser focus. So in this case, the quest book is asking for a red and white laser focus. So let's try making those. So as we see here, there's one for every color, and the white version is used to gather all of the white ores. So saltpeter, aluminum, and nether. And so independently, each of these has a pretty tiny effect, but the key is each focus is going to give about, let's say in this case, 3% probability, but we can stack multiple focus, which are additive the probability of getting that ore. So let's clear the weather and then craft up some of these laser focus. So we're going to need a stained glass pane, which is made from stained glass. Currently it's the only way to make it, and stained glass is going to be made from, well, what can we make it from? Regular glass. Alright everyone, I think I found the problem. So this stained glass pane white is very different from a white stained glass pane. So for some reason this one comes in the generic Minecraft version. The Mine Factory Reloaded is looking specifically for the Mine Factory Reloaded stained glass pane white. And so this comes from 6 stained glass whites, which come from basically crafting stained glass with a ceramic dye. And so we can't make the ceramic dye unless we have clay and bone meal, and this is porcelain clay. So let's go back here and make this formula with porcelain clay and nothing. Okay, great. So let's try this. Nothing. Wow. Here we go. Okay, finally I found the right formula. So it looks like this formula was being overridden to make porcelain clay. This combination of clay and bone meal is unique to make ceramic dye white. Great. So let's grab a couple stacks of this because it's really a pain in the butt. And then let's make stained glass white, which we will use to make a stained glass pane white, which we will use to make here we go, laser focus white. Alright, so same thing in red. So we would need a ceramic dye red. Great. Which can then, let's find the red formula. Stained glass red. There we go. And there we go. And from that, we can now make the stained glass pane, which means we can now make the laser focus red. Great. So let's throw that into the book, and I should now have everything I need to get a reward bag. And that finishes off this whole page of the system. So I should be able to burn through these very quickly, fishing away. Let's go and grab a fisher. So of course I'm missing a fishing rod. And I'm also of course missing iron gear. Okay, and here is the fisher block. Throw that back in and claim the reward. So I've already made a mob spawner. So the auto spawner with safari nets. And auto magic is going to require an auto brewer, an auto disenchanter. So let's whip up a brewer. So here I have everything except for a brewing stand, which is quite simple. And voila, one auto brewer. And unfortunately, that is everything I can complete here. I have a lock quest, so I need to figure out what else is blocking me before I can finish the other guys in this page. So with that, I'm going to call this an episode. It was a little convoluted there till I worked out the formulas, but I'm glad we were able to make it through. So if you could, please leave a comment or a like. Let me know how I'm doing, and I will see you next time on Agrarian Skies 2. Bye!